Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we almost have this station complete. We just need one more module to make this one fully done. And that module is a storage module for all of this ore. However, we cannot make that just yet because we don't have the science. So, what we are going to do is we absolutely have to have that Ike mission happen at this point. Let's check in on our timings and see how exactly that's looking. So, 363 days. The Solar Gateway maneuver is actually the next maneuver in 102 days. So we'll go ahead and fly that, and we just, there's not much else we can do at this point. We have to advance time. So let's take a quick look at this maneuver. This is only a 40-second burn. Okay, that's reasonable. Let's go ahead and get lined up for that burn. There we go. Now, one thing I want to check before we... Actually, I'm going to do it after the burn. So let's just warp to the burn. And we're definitely going to check this after the burn. We're just going to put that on hold, and we'll be back to it. However, that should have just... Oh, that's right. We don't actually have access to that contract anymore because of the bug. Okay, that's fine. We are getting a fair number of science points, so that's always good. We should be researching here. Okay, so this is a 40-second burn, so we want to burn this at T minus 20 seconds. And we've only got 1166 meters per second left in this. That's a little bit on the spooky side. We'll just go ahead and warp forward to T minus 20, and then I want to check after the burn on just how much DV it would cost to flip our directionality retrograde. It's going to be a lot, to the point where we probably don't want to use that technique for this station, but I want to investigate it just so that we can be informed on how much it actually is. It's definitely going to be a lot. I can tell you that right now. So this is our final circularization, right? Yeah, this is. So this is our final orbit for this station. And that is close enough. Yeah, that'll do. Now, at the apoapsis, I just want to check this. This is going to be a ton of DV. And I know that we don't have this much. Oh. Yeah, this is definitely a non-viable technique over the sun. Definitely non-viable. That's an entire Xenon tank. And the burn time on that. Oof. Okay, that's fine. We'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. So we got that burn done, and we can now head back to the Space Center. The Solar Gateway is currently in its final orbit. And of course, we're going to need to expand this station, and that is this one here. And we are indeed going to be doing that. But for now, we will head right on back to the Space Center, because our next maneuver is our trip to Ike. So we are going to go ahead and fly that quickly. And that is in 32 days. Sounds good. So here we are. This is going to be an 800 meter per second burn, which should, in theory, be fine. We'll get oriented for that, although I have to manually orient this. Ew. Disgusting. That's what happens when we don't bring a skilled pilot, I guess. We'll warp to the next maneuver. It's only warping at 1000x, which is slightly awkward, to be sure. That's at a slight inclination. I just noticed that too. Well, that's okay, I think. We've got about another 18 days left in this warp. And of course, this is then going to be another very long time until we get to Duna. But that's okay. We can maybe launch another mission? I'm not sure what we would do, now that I think about it. We may have to warp again. I mean, we do still have one more burn on this satellite. So that's the thing we could do. This is a 2-minute burn, though, so we want to burn this at T-minus 59½ seconds. So we'll go ahead and warp forward a little bit towards that mark, which we want to do right about now. Okay, off we go to Duna. Looks like there's absolutely nothing around us. It's because there kind of isn't. But this should be completely fine. The exploration stage should be more than capable of getting us there. Realistically, we're going to be able to do most of our Duna maneuvering and landing with the exploration stage, is my guess. We do want to make sure that our focus is set on Duna, so that we can finalize this orbit correctly. We've got about another 500 meters per second in this burn to go. So this should be more than fine. What is our current thrust to weight? 0.4? Yikes. That's not a huge surprise. The real question is, can we get this thing back with this level of DV? I hope we can. I'm pretty sure we can. We may just have to get some awkward timings. But it should be completely fine, in theory. About 200 meters per second left in this burn. About 30 seconds. And we should be starting to see our apoapsis pushing out pretty close. Yes, indeed. 100 more meters per second to go. About 10 more seconds left in the burn. Just adjusting our heading ever so slightly here. And we'll just bring this in a little bit more cautiously. That'll do. Excellent. So our next maneuver would be, of course, to do a bit of a braking maneuver here, because this is currently just a flyby. It's a lot of DV. Something kind of along the lines of this. Yeah, we'll have plenty of DV left for maneuvers. Sounds great. So let's hop back to the Space Center, and it's been quite a long time at this point since we've checked in on our contracts, so let's do so. I also want to check in on our current science levels, 574.6. Okay, we need 1,000. Satellite in equatorial orbit of Eve. I mean, that is something we could do. Plant flag on Minmus would be super easy. Not even any science for it. I mean, this would be quite easy as well. I don't know, I feel like these contracts aren't particularly great. We can always warp ahead a few days and see what they have next. This one is 228 days. We're not going to warp that whole time, for sure. At least not right now. For one thing, this is a really long burn, because we need to flip our directionality here. Now, this is a lot less DV because we are not aiming for as high of an orbit, but that's still going to be a lot. I'm going to go ahead and warp forward about 24 days here, and then we'll hop back and see what contracts are available. It's definitely not the fastest. We are still getting some science from the surface-deployed ion collectors. Let's actually just hop back to the Space Center and do it from here. So let's check in on our contracts now and see if there's anything interesting. Science data from surface of the moon. We should be able to get that very easily. Extract ore from Minmus and deliver it to Kerbal. That's not something that we're currently doing. It's something that we could do, in theory. Adjust the orbit of a Raven 0X. I'll pass on that for now. So it's 613 science now. Let's just advance time a little bit longer. We'll take this to something like day 120. Like that. And then we'll hop out of here. And we'll take a look at what contracts are available now. Science data from space around Minmus. That's easy. We'll happily do that. Okay. Let's find somebody orbiting Minmus. Actually, you know what? Let's check in on our ice cream maker's science lab's progress. Because I feel like this has been going for a while. We can transmit this science here. Not having any power issues with that. And that'll actually get us enough science to create the module for this, which is perfect. I'm glad I checked in here. So we'll just get this uploaded. There we go. We just received 499 science. And that got us the science data from space around Minmus. Perfect. Let's hop on back to the Space Center. And we're now going to need to make that Orage module. So this is mostly going to be a big empty tube. But we have enough science currently to grab experimental science for the large holding tank. Perfection. Okay. And now, let's start making that Orage module. So we are going to start with the standard mint getter. We're not going to keep this for very long. We're going to reuse the SLS system that is here, although I think we are going to change the fuel adapter system to be like this. There we go. A little bit of extra fuel there. And then everything above this decoupler, this one right here, should be removed. So this gets detached, and we are ditching this whole thing. We're going to be using a remote guidance unit for this, for sure, which is currently located where? Not sure where it put the remote guidance unit. Is it inside of this? Yes, it is. Okay, so here's the remote guidance unit. On top of this, we are going to definitely put in a 1K rechargeable battery pack. Below this, I'm going to put in an advanced inline stabilizer, just to make sure. And then we are going to put in a docking port, and we're going to keep using these inflatable airlocks. I like them. We're going to do something like that, although I'm going to just see if we can't recess that a little bit. Yeah, that'll do. Excellent. Now, let's take a look at the size of these large holding tanks. Those are definitely very large. Okay. And of course, we're going to be sending them up empty. So this is a grand total of 6,000 ore storage. This would be a grand total of 9,000 ore storage. We can attach this back up here, but then we can ditch all of this. We would use a different decoupler, of course. We'd be using the at least TD25. Yes. So that's just the exploration stage there. Do we need to extend that at all? Well, our decouplers are definitely messed up right now, so we need to adjust these. Actually, do we even need a decoupler here? I feel like we don't. Okay, so that would decouple there, that would fire, and this would be, what, the engine plate? Yeah, that's the engine plate. I think that this gets us there. Let's check thrust to weights, 1.67, 0.78, 0.2. So our thrust to weight is a little bit on the low side. But as long as we get to orbit, it's fine. Like, it's this stage's thrust to weight that I would be concerned about, but I'm actually not that concerned. So we are, of course, going to call this the Orage module. Because what else are we going to call it? Although I'm going to do that, just to make it that much more in your face. Perfect. And I think we are just going to do a simulated launch here. I don't really see a scenario where we have aerodynamic issues, although I technically didn't check that, which is part of the reason why this is currently set up as a as a simulated launch. But this should be completely fine. We should have plenty of thrust to weight to get into orbit and then get to Minmus and then get docked up. So off we go. Should have absolutely no issues whatsoever here. This is a shorter and lighter module than some that we've lifted, so it should be fine. We're at an apoapsis of 5 kilometers now, so we will begin our rotation. Feels pretty stable so far. We're passing through max Q right now. So that seems fine. We're at an apoapsis of 35 kilometers currently. This seems quite good. Apoapsis of 50 kilometers. 60. Let's get to the horizon. That's 70. Okay. Technically, I got rid of the SRBs slightly early. That's fine. We are apparently just going to tumble for a little bit, but we're going to hit space pretty quickly here. And we are just going to, at the apoapsis, burn something like this. Should, in theory, be completely fine. We'll head over to the maneuver node. I wish I hadn't launched the SRBs slightly early there, but it's not a huge efficiency loss. This is a 1 minute 39 second burn to get us into orbit, so we want to burn this at T minus, 30 plus 19 and a half, so 49 and a half seconds. And that should be correct. Okay, let's go ahead and physics warp for a little bit until we get out of the atmosphere, which we are now. We're going to regular warp for just a few seconds. 1 minute 20 seconds. Okay, so it's actually T-minus 40 seconds that we want to do this. So here in about 10 seconds, we will begin this burn. Right about now. And this should get us straight into orbit, with plenty of DV left over. Like, this is way more than enough DV. I don't know why I was even concerned about that. Like, this is a really light module when we're coming in without any power generation. I'm an idiot. How could I have forgotten power generation? Good thing this was a simulated flight. We can revert that. And that's why I do simulated flights on the first launch. Okay, so power arrays. Like that. There. Now we should be good to go, in theory. Anything else that we need? Well, we don't have RCS on this. RCS would be handy. RCS would be quite handy. So I'm actually going to put RCS on. I forgot that too. So eager to get going. We'll just put a little bit of RCS on like that. We'll just recess that a little bit. Some RCS thruster blocks. These are primarily going to be used, in fact, they're exclusively going to be used for the docking maneuvers. Okay. Do something like this. I was trying to get it to match up with the markers on the SAS module. It does not match up. Oh, this is 3 symmetry. No wonder. I wanted quad symmetry. There we go. Okay. So now this thing is actually ready to go. And this next launch, not a simulated one. So let's just launch this right now. I realize it's a little bit late in the episode, and I thought about cutting it there, but I want to get this thing up. We'll get it into orbit anyway. It's not going to make it to Minmus just yet, but it'll make it to orbit this episode. And off we go. Again, this one is not a simulated launch. But that 5-kilometer turn felt real good, so we're just going to follow that same flight profile. 5 kilometers. Over we go. And this time I'm not going to launch off the SRBs a little bit too early. Oh, that's feeling a little tippy. That's because we're passing through max Q right now at a pretty steep incline for max Q. Okay. Got it under control. Let's head on over. 45 degrees. Ish. We're at 50-kilometer apoapsis currently. Make that 60-kilometer apoapsis. Just heading for the horizon right now. 70-kilometer apoapsis. Let's get that sweet, sweet horizontal speed. Off go the SRBs. I kept the engines burning a little while there, just to make sure that we were going to be okay in terms of separating from the SRBs, which we were. And we're going to tumble for a little bit here, but we'll get it under control soon enough. Without the gimbaling from the engines, things are a bit difficult, but that's okay. It seems to be under control now, and we'll just go ahead and head for that maneuver node. This is a 1:30 burn, but we're still in Atmo. That's going to change. So for right now, let's just physics warp as we get out of the atmosphere. There we go. 1 minute 13 seconds. So we want to do this at T minus 36.5 seconds. We'll just warp forward towards 36.5 seconds, which is right now. And before I forget, let's get these solar panels extended. Perfect. So this should be much better on the whole getting into orbit situation. That was a better launch profile, for sure. About 40 seconds left in this burn. Make that 30. 300 meters per second to go. And we've still got almost 1,300 meters per second in our main stage here, let alone the 2.2K in our exploration upper stage. So this is plenty. Definitely plenty. Okay, we are good enough. I don't really care about our eccentricity. I don't really care about our inclination just yet. There we go. We are in orbit. It is time to put a cut in here, though, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to get this guy docked up to the Minmus station and call that relatively complete. We are going to still have to put the ore into this tank to get that completely finished up for the contract, but that's going to be the final launch for our station. Absolutely fantastic. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.